So yeah, as Anand sir said, the topic for today is red teaming, and what is the importance of red teaming, and why red teaming plays an important role in securing an organization's security. So let me just switch on my screen. Hope, sir, you're able to see my screen, right?
Yes, yes, Karthik. We can see your screen, and
Sure.
you also.
Karthik, you have 30 minutes exactly. Thank you.
Yeah, sure, sir. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, the topic for today is red teaming and why it is a need of the hour. So, first of all, what is red teaming? So, red teaming is a proactive exercise to audit and improve an organization's threat detection and response capabilities. So, 10 years ago, if you talk about, what is red teaming, we would say that, installing a certain kind of security solutions and, making sure that, you're adequately protected against viruses, malware, and other kinds of attacks was more than enough. But in the last 10 years, at least in this particular decade, all organizations, be it a small and medium businesses or very large enterprises, have definitely moved on to a concept or very well got acquainted to. I mean, get acquainted to the term called security operations center. So everybody started investing on security operations center, where it is nothing but a culmination of different tools. So you have, in a typical infrastructure. For example, yeah. Before moving on to that, why do we need the red teaming exercise? Is like this is the average IT security expenditure per year for different categories of businesses that we have. So let's say a small business, we're going to take a small business, which is around 100 or 150 people. So even they have to invest on buying enterprise antivirus solutions, because even though it's a small company, they'll definitely have some kind of AD infrastructure for their people to log in. They might have their own applications, they might have their own internal applications and network services that they have to run. So which in turn leads to buying some kind of security infrastructure as a whole. So small businesses or small banks that we actually cater to, we have seen that the typical expenditure is between 7 to 20 lakhs, is the average cost or average expenditure for small businesses on just buying security infrastructure. So some people may spend a little bit more on buying the best enterprise antivirus. So some people will buy an average enterprise antivirus, but they'll go with multiple solutions based on the requirement. But it is a typical expenditure that we usually see. So in the same expenditure, they also try to put a small SOC setup where they are able to at least gather all of the logs, and they are able to at least make sense of what is happening inside their organization. So if you come to medium businesses, the minimum expenditure that we are looking at is about 20, and upwards to about 60 lakhs is the normal expenditure that medium businesses are putting up into buying security solutions. So it might be buying VPN boxes for your employees to connect to you. So if you have websites or web applications that you need to host to, then you have hosting costs, you have web application firewall costs, and you have other security infrastructure costs that you have to put into. And for every employee that you have, you need to provide some kind of security to his laptop or desktop. So meaning you have to buy an enterprise AV, which is a little bit more expensive than the retail antivirus that we have. So again, you have firewalls to protect your internal infrastructure. You have UTM solutions. Nowadays we have come up with EDR and so on. So again, market may you'll get varieties of enterprise AV, UTM, and EDR solutions, and some are cheaper and some are expensive. So medium businesses, as we have seen, the companies were spending anywhere between 20 to 60 lakhs. So in large businesses, the regular expenditure that we have seen is about 60 to 1.2 CR per year is the average expenditure. And enterprise or conglomerates, specifically I'm talking about MNC, multinational companies. So wherein they usually spend upwards to about 500,000 to $1 million actually, which roughly converts to around 2 crores to 7 crores is what the average IT security expenditure is. And when I talk about IT security expenditure, expenditure, I'm also talking about the VAPT services that you have to take into. So if you have an application, you might have to call in VAPT guys to perform black box, white box, gray box, that kind of testing. So including all of these services, it amounts to this much of IT security expenditure. And when you're putting this much expenditure into SOC and other IT security services, see, the first question for any CISO is am I doing enough? So see, I'm asking so much budget from my board, and my expenditure is actually huge. So I mean, if you take the revenue versus the expenditure of IT security, so most of the companies like to spend anywhere between a minimum of around 4 to 5% of their revenue, and upwards a maximum of around 20% of their revenue on IT security budgets. I mean, specifically if you talk about companies like Google, Facebook, or Amazon, or companies like this, their annual budget is about 20% of their revenue. So that is like a fixed kind of percentage that they usually go with. So 20% of whatever they earn, they actually try to put into IT security budgets. So if this is the amount that a CISO is actually asking to each board, and he is actually putting up, then the question definitely comes is, are you secured enough? So are you doing well? So how do you know that your SOC actually is working? So how do you know an enterprise antivirus that you have moved with is actually working? So these are the questions that your board may ask you. Board may ask CISO, or these are the questions you might ask yourselves, because you're worried. So even after buying all of the world class technologies, so we are still seeing that the attacks are still happening. So even though after all of this expenditure, after having a world class next gen SOC, the attacks are still happening, the ransomwares are still happening, somebody is able to steal data. So all of these things are definitely happening. So the CISO definitely wants some way to actually test his infrastructure, or the efficiency of his infrastructure, so that he knows how well he is prepared, and what are the areas where there are some gaps that he need to work on. So that is exactly what red teaming can actually provide you with. So red teaming can actually provide you with matrix kind of stuff, or statistics on what are the number of attacks that that are possible on your infrastructure, and for how many of the attacks you are well equipped to handle. So again, in the red teaming, these are the typical components involved. And again, for a CISO, a major challenge is because he is dealing with multiple solutions, right? So he is dealing with enterprise AV, UTM, EDR, routing, generic firewalls, WAF, and VPN gateways. So all of these solutions are coming from different vendors. It's not like a single vendor is providing a whole suite of products to you, and he is entirely taking care of your cyber security infrastructure. So since we are depending on tens of companies for different kinds of solutions, integrating these solutions inherently has some kind of troubles. So it is possible that some tools might not sit together, or communicate well with the SOC infrastructure you have. So the people that you have employed, or the people the vendor has employed, might have a workarounds that have been created to make sure that it at least works. So sometimes it might be good process in long term, if they are not continuously revised, so can definitely cause a lot of gaps in the long term. So since you are dealing with multitudes of vendors who are providing different kinds of products, solutions, and you have too many integrations to your SOC, there is a definite chance of a gap creeping in some or the other way. So this is again the most challenge that every CISO has to go with. So again, why do you have to perform red teaming, or what does red teaming actually solve? So red teaming can actually help in you auditing existing SOC and security infrastructure. So if it is well configured to detect attacks, so if you can use red teaming exercise to test the existing use cases. So the vendor that you might have employed, you might have gone with a managed security services provider who is taking care of your cyber security infrastructure. So he'll definitely come up with 20 playbooks, 30 playbooks, or 100 playbooks, depending on which category of business line you're falling into. So let's say that you have 100 use cases or playbooks that your vendor has given you. So obviously, when he's creating such playbooks or use cases, he has some idea in his mind, based on the architecture that you have. He might have some kind of assessment based on which he might have created these use cases or playbooks. But as you know, these use cases or playbooks have to be continuously revised. It's not like I create a playbook today and it is good for the next 2 years or 3 years. Generally, it is not the case. So in a good, or in an ideal SOC, we almost change or revise these playbooks or SOC almost every week or 15 days. So which as of now, we do not see in any of the enterprise companies, or even for that matter any large companies that do not follow these kinds of mechanisms, because this is too tough for them. It's a nightmare for CISO to actually follow up with such frequent revisions. So since there is a challenge, people like to audit it once every quarter, or once every 6 months, and this poses a huge difficulty, because 6 months is a long time for an attacker to actually understand and come up with a bypassing technique, and he can very well come into your infrastructure, stay for that long before you actually come up and find a solution. So these are some of the challenges that CISO will definitely face in the IT security infrastructure. So again, test your detection capability against sophisticated attacks. As I've said, you might have some cases in mind by which you have put up your SOC, and 6 months or 3 months down the lane, you have more sophisticated attacks coming up in the real world. So again, is your infrastructure capable of handling such sophisticated attacks? So, or 0 days, for example. So that is something you will be able to answer yourself by performing a red teaming exercise. So test your people skills in providing timely incidents response against APT groups. So APT groups are mostly not technologically solvable. So it definitely needs some kind of human to actually analyze number of incidents and make sense, or find out if an APT group is actually behind your organization. So the people aspect is very much important in a SOC, where he definitely has to go through multitude of incidents and find out if there is a pattern. So some kind of data analysis or threat analysis has to be performed by a human, and basically we call them as SOC analysts, right? So even in your organizations, you might have SOC analysts. We have levels of SOC analysts, right? We have L1, L2, L3 kinds of engineers. So are these engineers capable of detecting an APT group style attacks? Are they capable of finding the pattern? Are they capable of analyzing different threats and finding out if there is a relation between one attack or another attack? Is something you should be able to test with by performing a red teaming exercise. Coming to the how, how do we perform this red teaming exercise? We have seen, what is red teaming. We have seen why a red teaming is necessary, and we are coming to how a red teaming exercise can actually be done. So red teaming can be done, both automated way by using tools, and we can also do it manually. So what we do is, in the red teaming exercise, we test your security tools individually and as a whole. So if you have EDR solution deployed in your system, we basically, depending on the capability of EDR, so we will launch multitude of attacks which EDR is supposed to detect. So if you bought an EDR which says that it is capable of heuristic or behavioral kind of scanning or engines, then we actually test those engines against multitude of attacks. So if it is able to capture 100% of the attacks, then you can be rest assured that your EDR is working well. So if there are gaps, then you need to know how many gaps are there. So out of 10 different attacks that we have launched, how many attacks was it able to detect, and how many it was not able to detect? Then you will go back to your enterprise EDR solution, or the provider of that EDR, and you will work with him to make sure that that EDR is revised, and it has proper signatures or work built into, so that next time this case is not repeated. So 10 out of 10 should be detected by EDR. Same goes with UB or UTM. And UTM or firewall or these IDS IPS kind of solutions is barely, there is nothing actually vendor can actually provide you or support you with. So because it is ultimately UTM is installed on your premise, and based on your business requirement you are supposed to configure it properly. So whether your IT administrators have done it properly or not is something we'll be able to test. Today there might be a business requirement by which you might have allowed some clients to connect to a particular port. So there is definitely a fat chance that 1 month down the line or 2 months down the line, the administrator actually forgets about such rules put in place. So 3 months down the lane, if that business requirement has been closed and there was no business requirement to keep that port open, your administration team should be able to rectify that as soon as possible. So if that is not being done, then obviously there is a gap that you have left out. You have a business requirement which is not there, but still the port is open to the port is exposed to the public, and attacker can definitely come inside through that gap. So such gaps is something that you will be able to identify by performing a red teaming attack. It's a small point you can still do. So you can check if your SOC has visibility against an attack. So if there is a specific format of form of attack, are you collecting the logs to detect such kind of attack is something that you will be able to know. So you will be able to know if a relevant use case has been designed by the vendor or designed by your SOC team, so that that attack is alerted, or there's a task that has been automatically such relevant use case. So you can also check if the SOC has an incident response procedure written down. So if there is a SOC analyst, does he have a process or an incidents standard operating procedure to deal with such kinds of incidents? So you'll be able to know whether your people are equipped in dealing such kind of incidents. So these are some of the what, why, and how red teaming is useful for an organization. Yeah. So now the solution that we are talking about is there's an in-house built solution. So we have created a solution called Hyacinth, so which is an automatic adversary emulation system. So as I've said previously, this can be done both in manual ways and in automated ways. So today we want to focus on an automated adversary analysis, which which this Hyacinth tool actually does. So what is Hyacinth? So Hyacinth is an automated adversary emulation tool which emulates an attack on your internal network. Please, you can carefully look at the words. We are not talking about simulation. We are talking about emulation. So the primary difference between a simulation and an emulation is a simulator or a simulation program actually does not do anything on the system. So it might send a packet over the wire, which your network infrastructure might want to detect, or it might detect, but it is not realistic, which means that it does not actually mimic the behavior of an attacker or an APT group. So it's like sending a signature across the wire, or installing malicious file into the system, and you're basically checking. It's not like installing a malware into the system, but it is just sending the packets over the wire, and see if your antivirus or your IDS IPS actually is detecting it. Whereas when we talk about emulation, so emulation basically means that there is a real life attack. I mean, this is as true as it can be. So there is a real ransomware which is being installed on your enterprise infrastructure, and your enterprise AV, UTM, or IDS or IPS should be able to detect it, because there is nothing as real as this kinds of emulation system. So again, the question arises whether since I'm claiming that my ransomware is realistic, whether it is really harmful to your production system or not. No. So the ransomwares that we are trying to emulate on your infrastructure are not harmful, because for example, again, if I take a classic example of a ransomware, so we have ransomware emulation. So we have different families of ransomwares that we have in Hyacinth. So it can automatically launch a ransomware. It can encrypt files as though a real Locky or PTR ransomware does. But at the same time, the Hyacinth will automatically decrypt all of the files for you. So which means that there is no real harm done. So whatever actions or whatever attacks that the Hyacinth is able to perform on the target system, it is also able to record and revert back those actions. So it is as realistic as possible that we are trying to create an attack. So which means that you should be able to be confident that tomorrow if an APT group comes into your organization or attacks your organization, then you are very well capable of handling those kinds of incidents. So because you are not running a simulator in your environment, you are running an emulator which is as real attack as possible. So again, why Hyacinth, or what are the key features of Hyacinth, and why you should use it? So one thing is it is completely automatic. So it has a inbuilt decision making and a heuristic based engine. So which means that to mimic the behavior of a APT group. So assume that what does a APT group or how an APT group actually targets your infrastructure. So he comes into your infrastructure, before coming into your infrastructure, he'll perform some kind of recon activities. So recon activities are very difficult to actually log into because most of the recon activities are passive. So which means he is not going to hit your infrastructure to find about what your infrastructure has. So he'll try to do some DNS enumeration or something like that to find out what is your infrastructure. Once he does that, he actually starts scanning your infrastructure. That is when the logs come onto your system. Now once he is able to find a vulnerability, he'll try to exploit it. He'll come into your system, and then he'll try to install a backdoor or install a some kind of malware into the system. And the next step that he'll perform is to do lateral movement. So since he has already exploited one system, the next goal for that attacker is to do lateral movement, which is compromise more and more systems inside the network. So which means there is a part that he is actually taking, right? So from external, he is trying to hack into at least one system inside your infrastructure, and from that one system he is trying to go as deep as possible. So this behavior is something the tool is automatically able to mimic. So which means that so let's say that you install this agent or this Hyacinth in framework is the most common reference framework that security people actually use. So this has listed out all of the techniques and all of the uh, possible attacks that can happen on your infrastructure. So it is based on MITRE ATT&CK frameworks, so that we are sure that we are not missing any specific attack technique to be tested on your infrastructure. And it is platform embedded systems or such kind of platforms. If it is there, then we can support you, which is not included by default, but there is definitely support that we can give. So we have modern tooling and APIs, wherein if you have a SOAR and if your SOC platform has a SOAR response mechanism, then you can use you can use our APIs to automatically launch multitude of attack simulations. So then we have replication of APT attacks on the infrastructure. So let's say you are a telecom company, and we have seen that there is APT 30 and APT 10, which was against which was targeting telecommunication companies. So if you are a telecommunication company and if you want to know whether you are protected against APT 10 kind of groups, then you can choose APT 10, and it will mimic the entire behavior of how an APT 10 group actually targets an enterprise and hacks into the enterprise infrastructure. So meaning it will try to send phishing links to one of the emails. So if your employee clicks on one of the email links, So automatically a malware is downloaded onto the system, and that malware is propagated. The malware tries to collect some information, and it exfiltrates all of the information to the Hyacinth dashboard. So this is some kind of behavior which we are able to replicate using Hyacinth. So again, ability to run your own custom simulation. So if you have an advanced user in your premise or in your organization, so they can actually tweak, and you have the ability to run your own custom simulation, which means that you can adjust the level of intrusiveness that you want on the Hyacinth platform. And again, complete logs and reports will show how the attack has performed. As I've said, every technique or attack that is performed on your organization is carefully recorded. So every technique or every command that Hyacinth actually executes on your infrastructure is recorded, and that log is provided as a report, so that you can compare it with your SOC reports also. So if there are 10 different actions that Hyacinth has taken on your organization, you have to compare it with your SOC, so that you are able to see all those 10 actions on your dashboard. If you're not able to see, then that is a gap that you need to fill. And also the log is also can be used, so that if there is any actions that needs to be reverted, if there are any files that need to be deleted, you can simply do it by looking at the log file. So your administrators work will be a lot more easy to clean up the systems. So again, seamless updates and support. So Hyacinth is a cloud-based solution. There is an on-premise version also, but cloud-premise solutions will receive almost immediate updates. So as and when we have an update, the cloud instance is the first to be updated. So this is some of the key features of Hyacinth. Yeah. So, and we have three licensing plans. We have basic, advanced, and aggressive. So the basic license will talk about one-to-one execution of MITRE techniques to be selected by the user and execute. So which means you can take a specific technique in the MITRE. We'll talk about MITRE framework later, but you can choose a specific technique and you can execute and see the responses of your SOC. And in advanced, we do automated or guided attack planning. So which means it's like a fire and forget missile. So it's like you choose what you want to simulate and you click a button. Everything is taken care by Hyacinth. So it will automatically tell you what are the things that it can possibly do on your infrastructure, and which one of them it cannot. And for those it can possibly do, it will automatically do and present you the report. And the aggressive is where real life APT like simulations will be used. So as I spoke about APT 10 or APT 30 kind of simulations that can be done in the aggressive license mode. Yeah. So yeah, as I said, the entire Hyacinth, the backbone of Hyacinth is actually MITRE ATT&CK framework. So to give a very brief on what MITRE framework is, so there is a reference model framework, as I said. So this has a movement from left to right actually. So let's say that for a hunters or for defensive people, if they find an attack technique somewhere here, assume that your SOC is able to detect access token manipulation inside your SIAM. Then if you want to know what has happened or how this has happened, you need to look onto the techniques that are on to the left of the framework. So if you want to know how attacker has done access token manipulation, you need to look at persistence, execution, and initial access kind of techniques to see how he might have come into your system. So for us, for the red team, so this is like we move from left to right actually. So first thing is initial access. We'll try to see how do we initially get access to your organization, and then what do we need to execute inside your organization so that we can hack into your organization systems. And then persistence. How do I put a backdoor in your organization? And then privilege escalation. So when I'm attacking your system, I'll most probably get a standard user access. How do I become admin inside your infrastructure? So once I become admin, inside your infrastructure, what do I need to do so that I evade your defenses? How do I make sure that I defeat your enterprise AV, IDS, IPS solutions? So, and then comes credential access. How do I steal the admin credentials of other systems inside the network? Then comes discovery. So what is inside the organization that I can actually take out so that I can sell it in the black market? I mean, this is the typical behavior or the idea of an attacker, right? So this is what we are able to emulate on your infrastructure. Lateral movement. So once I discovered what is inside your network, I'll try to exploit it and try to take more information out of your infrastructure. So this is how you use MITRE ATT&CK framework as a reference to move from left to right if you are a red teaming guy, so that you know what needs to be done after what. So you do initial access, you do execution, then you do persistent, then you do privilege escalation, and it goes on. So it's typically how the behavior of red teaming activity will be. Yeah. So deployment methods, as I said,
Karthik, you have 5 more minutes. If you're in demo, you can just go for that. Thank you.
yeah, I'm going through. So on the deploying methods, we have on-prem and cloud, as I've said before. So on-prem, it can be installed completely on your system, so that it can mimic all of your internal attacks. On the cloud, we are able to do both external and internal attack emulation. Yeah. So this is the demo time. So we'll just move to having the demo. Okay. Hope you are able to see my screen. Anand sir or Raj sir, can you confirm you are able to see my screen?
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
Okay, great. So yeah, so this is the Hyacinth dashboard. Once you log in, this is what you will be presented with. So the first thing that you do is Hyacinth is an agent-based emulation kind of tool. So which means you need to first install this agent inside your infrastructure. The reason why we have to install an agent inside your infrastructure is it needs to it needs to emulate or emulate the behavior of a bad employee, or certain kind of tools, right? So which means we know that the majority of techniques that are used by APT groups is social engineering. So which means that the way to get inside an infrastructure is either by exploiting a remote service or a web application technology, or by sending an attachment, a malicious attachment or a phishing link to one of the employees, and once he clicks on it, the malware is inside the system, and that is how most of the APT groups target an organization. So since we have to mimic the behavior of an employee clicking on a malicious link, so we need this agent so that it can support these kinds of behaviors. Also, we need to record the responses, right? So if there is a malware which is going from one system to another system by automatically exploiting it, we need the agents inside your infrastructure, so that it is able to track this behavior. It is able to know that there's a malware going from one system to another system. So that is the sole reason of why we need an agent installed on your system. So to deploy your agent, it is quite easy. So you click on add devices. You have a small configuration file that you need to download, and you can install the agent itself. So once you run this agent along with the configuration file, so you should be able to see that the number of agents that you have installed will start showing up here. So for example, I have for today's demo Windows 10 Pro, Windows 10 Pro system. So wherein I have already run an agent. So this agent is what I have today. So you can see that this is what my system is. So once I'm running this system, you can see that as soon as the agent is alive, you can see that the agent will start showing up on the dashboard, and it says that the system is active, which means agent is continuously running in the background. So the next thing is you click on start simulation. So if you want to begin with individual MITRE based simulation, then you will choose this box. And if you want to do an automated APT kind of simulation, we can choose this box. So as of now, due to shortage of time, I'll just show you how an automated APT simulation will be done. So here you can see that we have different APT groups that we have already predefined. So APT 32 is there. You can select APT 32, and it will automatically do all of the techniques. So from in the MITRE framework, you have seen that we perform initial recon and to CNC level. So everything is automatically performed. So Poison Ivy. So Poison Ivy is a specific threat group which was targeting multitude of companies. So APT C36. So we have Gallmaker, we have Turla, malware. We have APT20 simulations. We have Charming Kittens, we have Casper, we have Bugbeal, Locky, and CryptoWare ransomware. Now, let's say that, for today's example, we'll be looking at, three ransomware simulations or three variants of, ransomware simulations. So the first one is Bug-B, and we'll proceed with Locky and crypto malware. So you select, Bug-B variant. So you choose, a particular name to it, a particular name to this project. So I will say Bug-B versus Defender. So again, for today's to make sure that, the demo is seamless, so I've not installed any specific antivirus. I'm leaving the system as default as it is. So we have Windows Defender, which is updated as of today, as of last minute. So we are trying to test out if Defender is enough for us to protect against different kinds of malware. So we can see Bug-B versus Defender is a project name that I've given. You can click on begin APT simulation, and then you can run simulation. And as I said, it's a fire and forget. There's no more configuration that needs to be done. So as soon as you run simulation, it automatically deploy the malwares onto your system. It'll execute it, and once it is done, it'll report you back. Okay, so the simulation already ran on host. So once the simulation is completed, I can just click on end simulation, and I can go to see the report. So you can see that this is the newest project that I have launched. So Bug-B versus Defender. So you can see that on the MITRE attack framework, we have two techniques which is utilized by this particular ransomware. So T1204 and T9991. So if you see, you can see whether it has been successfully executed or not, on which systems this has been executed. So when you click on view, you can see that there are two techniques that is used by this particular group. So one is malware deployment, which means that how does a ransomware get into the system, and the second thing is what does a ransomware actually do. So how did the malware actually come into the system? So it used technique 1204. So if you need more reference, you can go to MITRE attack framework T2104, and you will be able to get more information on how ransomwares actually take or how they use different kinds of techniques to come into the system. As you can see, for T2104, it is mostly user execution. So which means that the attacker has sent some kind of phishing attack, or phishing malicious link onto the email, and user has clicked on it, and he has welcomed the ransomware inside the system. So that is what it has used to deploy the malware into the system. And once the malware was deployed, this is what it has done. So here you can see that this particular Bug-B did not run on the target system successfully. There are multiple reasons, but most common reason is because the antivirus or the defender has already stopped it. So if your antivirus has stopped it, then you will get a failed status. So which means that this test is successfully failed. Again, I'm using the word successfully failed because this is what we want on your organization. The more failures that Hyacinth has, the better your security organization, the better your security is. The more success we have on Hyacinth, the better your organization security basically is. That is how you basically have to see the Hyacinth results. So this has definitely been failed. So which means you are adequately protected against this particular variant of ransomware. So now let's go with different variant. So this time I'll go with Locky variant. And meanwhile, what I've done is, since it is a ransomware, so what we have done to the ransomware is it only targets documents folder, and it targets only PDF document and XLS documents. So I'll keep this window open so that you can see what is happening in real life. So let me just check Locky variant. Locky versus Defender. I'll click the simulation, run simulation. Yeah. So here you can see that automatically you can see that it has launched the ransomware. It has encrypted all of these files. So you can see that there are files named as .rhina. So Rhina is again a variant of ransomware. But you can see here is that whatever files we have successfully encrypted, they have also been decrypted back. So you have your original files, meaning that there is no real harm done to your system. So but the emulation is quite perfect, this is as realistic as it is possible. So again, we can click on the end simulation. We can go to the report. So this is the latest Locky versus Defender that we have run. So we'll look at the report. So again, we have two different techniques we have used. Again, as I've said, the most common way is user clicking on a malicious link or a variant. So here you can see that this has been a success. So this particular Locky variant is is unable to be detected by Defender, which means Defender doesn't have the ability to actually detect these kinds of Locky variants. And here you can see the entire log of what it has done. So the ransomware has got 4 files. It has encrypted all of these 4 files, and then, as I've said, whatever we do, we actually revert those actions back. So here you can see that after all of the files have been encrypted, so we have also reverted all of the files back. So you can see that 4 files have been reverted. So the ransomware has automatically decrypted all of the files also, which means no real harm done to your production systems or your environment, but you're accurately mimicking the behavior of ransomware. So this you need to go and compare it with your SOC analysis or your SOC dashboards to see whether these techniques have been detected or not. So which means that if you have enterprise AV should give you an alert, and there should be a SOC alert which says that ransomware detected or malicious activity detected. So if you do not have ready-made tools such as enterprise AV or something like that, then your SOC team might you have to depend on your SOC team to actually analyze and find out if such kind of activity has happened. So they'll give you reports saying that there's a malicious activity that SOC team has detected. So you compare that reports your SOC team has given to you, and you compare the actions that have been taken place in the hyacinth, and you'll be able to immediately find out where the loopholes are. So just for the sake, let's go and do another ransomware. So which is the most interesting one, and which is which is mostly the famous one. So we have CryptoLocker variant. Let's say crypto versus Defender. Begin APT simulation. So here you can see is this is more malicious, and this is more aggressive kind of ransomware variant that we have. So here you can see that it has successfully encrypted a lot of files. Again, we'll decrypt it back, but you can see that it is automatically changing the wallpaper. And here you can see that you have the message as realistic as possible. So this is almost real ransomware hitting into your system, and your Defender was not able to protect it. Maybe you have to move to a next gen enterprise AV, so that you're able to stop this kind of ransomware infection. So you can see that as though a real ransomware infects your system, you have all of these files and all of the actions. And one more thing is you can also see that in this case we have Sysmon installed over here. So if you have Sysmon, you can see that the log files should actually say what exactly the activity that has happened in the backend. So you can go to your EventWeaver, and EventWeaver will say that what are the actions that have been taken place. So this is what you want to compare